I have a job for you.
Jeez, it's not another ARC, is it?
No, not again. This time I need a full-scale home renovation.
Noah Construction and Builders is your design and build partner. We do it all, from additions and dormers to full-scale renovations. Schedule your no-cost design consultation today. Visit us online at noahconstruction-builders.com.
Noah Construction and Builders. Through dreams we design, with vision we build.
WGBB 95.9 FM 1240 AM. Welcome to MuscleSport Media Live. I am your co-host, Joe Pietaro. Sitting across from me is Anthony Tuminello, and of course, across us, my left to Anthony's right, Trevor, the man inside, the producer, the magic man. He makes everything happen, and he had a great suggestion for the caller audio with the headphones on the camera. Anthony. So.
Yeah, it looks like we got a third person in here.
Looks like
what's that old what was that movie with Johnny Five, the freaking robot in the 80s? You remember?
Five Alive.
Yeah, that's what it looks like.
Short Circuit. We always have Short Circuit in the room tonight. Oh, but we have a caller, but I just want to make a quick call before the call, and I'm going to call out to NoahConstruction-Builders.com, our title sponsor, No Job Too Big nor Small, for Pete and the guys over at Noah. Check out the videos on YouTube, Instagram with the drone.
Yeah.
Oh, come
it's
on.
Unbelievable.
It's great. High quality videos, high quality work.
No, they're the best. There's no question.
Then they're the best. They build arcs, they build houses.
Houses. All right.
But we want to welcome to MuscleSport Media Live someone that you know personally, that I don't. I hope to meet one day because I want to come up and watch the horse race.
Yeah, you want to get into the
I want to get
situation.
involved. I'm just starting. I'm a novice on doing this
I am
stuff.
too. Don't get it twisted. I am beyond not an expert whatsoever. I'm learning day by day.
Day by day.
Yeah.
But here's somebody who has many years of experience. A young lady has many years of experience because she started very young. Miss Keri Brion. Now, Keri, please correct me if I pronounced that wrong.
Well, everybody says it differently. It is actually Brian, but
Brian.
I told you.
He told me, but I forgot.
Whatever you want.
I said Brian because I got a friend. It's Dan Sion, so it's the same thing.
Yes.
But of course, he did it the way he wanted.
It's not as exciting as people like to make it.
So either way, Keri, you had perfect timing. You had even a race today where you placed today. You had at Laurel Park. You had a third place. So how did today go?
Yesterday, actually.
Oh, yesterday.
Yeah,
excuse me.
All
right.
Yeah, we had a winner and a third place. Yeah, so very good.
Excellent. And both were at Laurel?
Oh, sorry, that was at the jump races. Yeah, Laurel, we had a third place. We actually won the race and unfortunately got disqualified. He interfered with other horses out of the gate, but the horse crossed the line first, and that's just part of racing, unfortunately, sometimes.
The foul. That sucks, unfortunately.
A bit sucky, but it happens.
It happens. But I did a little homework on you once Anthony told me that he was getting you on the show, and I was really excited because I'm a fan of the sport of kings. I'm just starting to try to learn how to do handicapping, and I'm really
right.
I got a long way to go. Obviously, to me, it's just fun. I bet with your head not over it kind of thing. I'm a big sports gambling guy, and I'm into the horses, and I'm just starting to learn. I got a long way to go to catch up to my sports, but I wanted to talk to you a little bit about because I never realized that the steeplechase it's very different from the regular thoroughbred and harness racing. So explain to people out there, just a quick, maybe, Cliff Notes version of the three different races, and how did you get involved with the steeplechase first?
Of course. Well, steeplechase racing is basically you're racing over jumps. So the short version anyway. They race anywhere from 2 to 3, and every once in a while, depending on the type of jump race, sometimes 4 miles, jumping fences, different types. There's hurdles, there's timber, but the short version is it's racing over jumps. Obviously, the flat racing is just that, racing on the flat, turf, dirt, short, long, different distances and whatnot. And the harness racing, to be honest, I don't have much experience there whatsoever, but obviously that is when the horses are, it's harness racing. So when they're carrying the cart behind them and racing. So 3 different types, yes. The jump racing, funny enough, actually, a lot of horses that compete on the flat go on to be jumpers. That's where a lot of the jumpers come from. So it's not that far, removed from the flat racing, actually. So that's an interesting thing. We actually look for some of our jumpers off the flat racing, and some of them do both still, too. So it's not actually that far removed.
Now, Keri, Anoint, our horse, it started as a jumper, and then it went to flat, right, or vice versa?
Well, she started with the idea to be a jumper because she has family members who have been successful jumpers. So that was kind of the thought process, but she started on the flat, and she's been so successful on the flat that we haven't actually, explored the jumping with her yet, which I think might be something we do end up doing this year. But she was one where, it's always been in the back of our minds, but she's been so successful on the flat that we just haven't made that jump yet. So, no pun intended. But I think we probably will at some stage this season, yeah.
And she's a mare at this point, right? With her age?
She is, yeah.
Okay.
She's 7, I believe. Correct me if I'm wrong. I believe she's 7 this year. But funny enough, her breeding is actually to, be better as she gets older. So, I would argue that she's probably just hitting her best years now, actually. All of her family was best as they got older. She's obviously a homebred of my late boss, who was in the Hall of Fame for both jumping and flat horses, and he bred his own horses. So, I knew her mother, I knew her grandmother, and the whole family, his breeding was always, they got better as they got older. So I expect her to do the same.
Yeah, she's a beautiful horse. I mean, what I've noticed, and again, I'm not by any means any expert. I just really started. My buddy John got me into it, so he asked me if I wanted to get in the ownership group, and I said absolutely. So he was real high on this horse. So learning this, Anoint, it's amazing. The races that I've watched with her, and Keri, just correct me if I'm wrong, she starts mid, and then I got to tell you, this horse's engine is unbelievable.
Yeah.
She finishes, and Joey, she'll beat these horses. When she wins, she'll beat these horses by 9 strides.
Yeah,
she has as you said, she has a serious engine, which is, what you look for.
Absolutely.
That's great when the horse can, turn it on, and obviously it's a lot with the jockey involved and the whole way the horse is trained and workout and all of that stuff. But you brought up, you alluded to Jonathan Shepard before you said the Hall of Famer, and you were very young when you started dealing with him. Obviously, I guess it was just a good placement as far as where you lived in Pennsylvania. You were home from college after a semester, and you're obviously very athletic yourself, not only in doing jockey, but in high school you were in track and field, and you had a pole vaulting scholarship in college. So you obviously have...
that is all true.
Yeah, so...
Keri, I'm learning right now about you. as Joey's talking...
You know everything about me.
I'm
learning things I don't even know.
I'm learning. Go ahead.
I thought one of the coolest things I saw was when you were 15, the local paper was interviewing you at a high school meet, and you said your biggest love was horse racing, though, because you were already working at the first barn.
I was working for Sylmar Farm at the time, Ronnie and Betsy Houghton, and it always was, the racehorses introduced, I grew up riding ponies and, doing that kind of thing, but it wasn't until I started working, I lived right down the road from this racehorse farm, and, they just had claimers, really, but that was fine, and I started just, scrubbing water buckets and cleaning tack on the weekends, and slowly but surely I rode the lead pony, and then, got up to learning to exercise racehorses, and I knew very early on, I think I was 12 when I actually galloped my first racehorse, and I knew right then, like, that was all I wanted to do, the racehorses. I had no real interest in the showing and everything. It was always going to be the racehorses. So I worked for them for 10 years, I want to say. I think until I went to college and, went away to IUP, Indiana University of Pennsylvania to start with on a scholarship for track. And, I didn't stay sound. I wasn't a very, I wasn't a very sound, athlete. I had skin issues and whatnot. So ended up going a semester and coming home on my break. And I hadn't decided to move home yet, actually. But I think it was Thanksgiving break. One of my good friends at the time, and we're still friends, Mel Williams, was working for Jonathan and asked if I wanted to come just ride out for my Thanksgiving break, and that's where it actually started. And it was around the time that he had, the Breeders' Cup, horses in the barn, Forever Together, and Informed Decision, and they went on to both be Eclipse Award winners. So it was around the time where he probably was at the peak of his career, which was a great time for me to come in. And it kind of started there. I came home. I finished my degree at Westchester University. I was going there at night, and I was working for him during the day. And just kind of progressed. I started as just a rider, exercising the horses, and I actually didn't even know about jump racing really until I worked for him. So he introduced me to the steeplechase racing, and he obviously did both. And obviously that's kind of how I've built my model of training around that today. But that was the start of it for me. I was 19, and I worked for him for 11 years, and went out on my own after that. So that was how I really got going.
You see how a negative turns into a positive, and I always believe everything happens for a reason. You see that?
Yeah. It was funny because I was a big athlete in high school, and I know my parents probably wanted me to do more on the athletic side, but it was always the horses.
Well, do you see what happened though? I mean, you found your passion. Everyone has always used to tell me, and I kind of live it myself with my career. If you could really have your passion as your career, you're the most blessed person alive. So that's truly a blessing. I completely believe that.
100%.
Yeah, definitely. But you're kind of downplaying it a little bit. You worked there, but you became the top assistant trainer to Shepherd. So it's like you weren't just one of the hands there. You were
and I
up
was,
there.
For sure. And I was really fortunate because, I was like kind of the last assistant, right, before he retired. And I probably got a little bit more of the reins thrown my way than other assistants did, just because he was battling some health issues and was, in the twilight of his career. So I got to really learn probably a lot more, as he was always very hands-on, and he didn't really give a lot of, he didn't really delegate a lot of authority or power to his assistants. He did everything himself. So for me, I got pretty lucky to learn. I learned for 11 years, but the last 3, I really got thrown the reins, and that has definitely helped. That definitely helped me in my career now, having that experience to make a lot of the decisions. And obviously, those 3 years where I was kind of given more rein, I built up great relationships with owners that stood by me when I went out on my own and essentially kick-started my career. So, I was very fortunate.
You made a big move in 2020, and obviously COVID had a lot to do with this. You actually went to Ireland and brought a bunch of horses with you. That must have been I know it's a real popular sport in Europe, and Ireland, is one of the main places. But that must have been that was a ballsy move. I'll say it straight out. What made you decide to make that plunge that?
Yeah, it was wild. Jonathan was it got even crazier because Jonathan's wife retired him, when I was in Ireland. And, it's a long story that doesn't need to be necessarily told, but basically I was left in Ireland, not knowing what was really going on because his health had just taken a pretty bad turn, and he wasn't able to really make his own decisions anymore. So basically I ended up, the original plan was, I was his assistant in Ireland. They were running in his name to begin with, and it was because of COVID, because Ireland was still continuing on with their racing, and we didn't know how much racing we were going to have in America. And we had a few owners had just invested a lot of money in really nice horses, and, we were thinking to ourselves, are they going to get a chance to run? And that's when a couple of the owners got together, and we kind of talked about the idea, and everybody was game. So I think I took 8 horses over total. But, I ran one, and obviously in Jonathan's name starting off, and he ran second first time out, which was really exciting. I mean, jump racing in Ireland is the mecca. I mean, that's the best of the best. So,
that's huge.
It's pretty surreal to be, going to the paddock with Gordon Elliott and Willie Mullins and, people like that, just to even be competing. And I know people thought we were crazy, and I know people thought it was crazy and these horses wouldn't work over there, but, it ended up, long story short, retired him, and I took over the license in Ireland because he could not keep a license after relinquishing his American license because it was a temporary license. So I got my license out and had my first runner at Clonmel, French Light. He finished second. And it was a pretty good 4 months. Like, they all hit the board. They were running well. And I did think we weren't going to come away with a winner. And then my final 2 weeks, I had a horse win a bumper, which is a flat race. They call it a flat race. They call it a bumper, but it's a flat race at a jump meet. I did that, became the first American to train one of those in Ireland. And then a week later, I won a hurdle race with the Mean Queen, who then came to America and absolutely, made my career take off. So, pretty cool.
That was yeah, she was dominant. She was dominant at that point.
She was unreal.
Yeah.
I don't think I will ever, and I'm 33, about to be 34, I don't think I'll ever train a horse as good as her.
Pretty
Again,
amazing,
she was just different. Yeah, she was very special.
Keri, transition a little bit, all right? Let's say, okay, how would you tell, like, the morning of a race? Because actually my buddy John, who, he owns the horse with us, told me to ask you this. So how would you know the morning of the race if a horse is not going to be on its game? The morning of, if you know.
Of course. I mean, look, sometimes they don't run up to par and you are blindsided, right? You don't see it. But, there's things like, right, first of all, if they don't eat up, if they're normally good eaters and they've less food, that's never a good sign.
Right.
Obviously we are always taking their temperatures and whatnot, making sure they don't have a fever or any sign of, infection starting or anything like that. But you get to know the horses, and you also know what they're like on game day, per se. Like if a horse is normally pretty jazzed up and they're really quiet on the day, you normally get a feeling like something's not right. Or the opposite, like normally they're quiet and for some reason they're like really revved, probably not a good sign.
Yeah, so it's like regular athletes, same concept. Right.
Except they can't tell you. You have to just feel it out.
Yeah, but she knows these horses and better.
Yeah.
Yeah. And, the horses, and, look, it's very hard to call an owner up and be like, hey, your horse, isn't acting right. I don't think we should run them. You can't really say that. I mean, obviously. What
do you mean, Keri? I text you. Keri, what's going on? I never bother you. I never do that because I don't know. So I don't want to be the ignorance and want to say, well, how come it's not running? Because I have no idea. She's the expert. Yeah. She's the one doing this. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, it's obviously if they don't eat or they have a fever, that's a little bit easier to be like, okay, we can't run today. But, the things that how they're acting and stuff, you just know that as a trainer, and, you kind of have a feeling. But, you get to know these horses, you can figure I do it every single day. I get to know every single horse I train. They're all different. So that's the thing. They're all different. So you kind of get to know their tendencies and go from there.
All right. So, Keri, we have a big race coming up Sunday with Anoint. Okay. So let's hear a little of the goods. Let's hear a little bit of the opponents. What are you thinking? Because we're on air here, but I don't think anyone else is listening to us.
Well, I'm gonna be bold here. I haven't been able to see the race as far as what's in there and whatnot.
Gotcha.
But, I don't. It's gonna take a real good one, I think, to beat her. Obviously we took her to the training flat race at the point to point. It wasn't for money. some of the bettors don't know about that, so hopefully we get a nice price. But she's fit and she's ready to go. And a lot of times, you know, this time of year, everybody kind of needs a race, whereas, you know, I try to get these turf horses ready behind the scenes at these training flat races and stuff like that. So I know she's 100% fit. I think it's going to take a real good one to beat her. I think she's in the best form I've had her in. I think she's in that form right now. So she's ready to run, ready to go. You know, I'm excited.
Yeah, you just made me smile. We just need we don't need mushes betting the horse, right, Joey?
Guys, Frankie Mush. It's very impressive with Anoint. She's got a 25% win percentage in 16 career starts, 4 wins.
And like she had a terrible luck. Like it was just a terrible luck. Like her whole year last year, she was the favorite in multiple races, and like they came off the grass. Like one time it rained and they literally took the race off the grass, moved it to the dirt while we were in the paddock as the 1-9 favorite in a stake.
Wow,
like,
that's a
you know,
big
she's
change.
just had a lot of like really bad luck that hasn't just, you know, races didn't go, and like it was just kind of a bad year, and then it ended with like a very minor injury, but it was just at a bad time where like we weren't going to be able to get her back before the end of turf season. So we just kind of like chucked last year out, you know, just throw it out, basically.
Yeah.
But she's showing just as much ability as she ever has, if not more. So yeah, I'm excited for the year.
Keri, who was the jockey for the last race? That was the real famous guy, right?
Her last race that she won, or
the last
Javier Castellano rode her in the stake at
that was the
at Penn National, and she was fourth beaten like 2 lengths, if that, for the whole thing.
No doubt.
He got hung wide and came late, and it was actually I don't know if she would have won it, but it was unfortunate. I mean, we were very close.
No doubt.
Flying.
We were going crazy.
Yeah, I thought she was going to get there.
Now, Keri, let me ask you a question. In a normal set of circumstances, the horse is healthy. Let's do with the regular thoroughbred flat right now. We'll, question for that category. How often does a horse like that race if he or she is healthy and doing fine?
Yeah, I mean, it's obviously, every horse is different. Like, I have some horses that, like, really need 6 weeks in between races. Even if they're acting so good, I can run them, like, shorter than that, and I always regret it. But, like, there's plenty that can run every 3 to 4 weeks and run their races every single time. So, once again, it does kind of come back to the horse. Like, they're all different, what they prefer, what they can do. Because, like I said, I've had horses doing great that I run, and I'm like, man, why did I do that? Because it's just, they need more recovery time. But there's, like I said, there's plenty that can run 3 to 4 weeks and sound happy, healthy, and run the race every time. So it really comes down to the horse.
You get to learn, I guess, during workouts and stuff like that in between races.
Well, that's it. You just see how they recover and stuff like that.
And for someone like myself, like I said, I'm just starting to get into the, trying to figure this thing out. What would be, and I don't want to be the hack question, but I have to ask because I don't get to talk to a trainer very often. What would be the thing that I should focus on? I can't learn it all at once. So I just want to start handicapping. You want to win a few bucks. You're not going to get rich off of it. You know that. You're going to lose more than you win. But what would be something, if I'm looking for thoroughbreds, would be my go-to number on a racing form?
Yeah, well, like, that's what I was going to say. Like, obviously, learning the racing form is huge. And then you're looking for patterns, right? Like, you're starting to learn what trainers are good at what. Some trainers are better with first-time starters. Some trainers are better first-time turf. You start seeing pedigrees that, maybe they've been running on the dirt, but they're, by a stallion that produces a lot of turf winners. Maybe they're out of a mare that's had 3 other winners all on the turf. You start looking for patterns like that. And maybe this time of year, not to keep going on about dirt to turf, but this time of year you see horses that might have run on the grass last year but have been running on the dirt all winter because there's no turf racing up here that in the winter. So maybe it's a horse that really wants turf, but their numbers aren't very good recently because they've been running on the dirt, but now they're back to turf. So, you look at that angle, it's all about just, patterns and stuff like that, seeing, what kind of picking up on those types of patterns.
Yeah, the biggest thing I was first told, the track is everything. And the horse and the track, you got to know what the horse likes to grip. That's the biggest thing that, you know what I mean? So, and that's what I'm
that's huge. Like you might, and you kind of will see, like some horses might really jump up on a sloppy track. You know, you might see that where they put in a huge number, a huge effort on the sloppy track. So if that's the case and it rains and you have a sloppy track, you know, that might put you towards a horse that you wouldn't have been looking at if it was a fast track.
So, all right, the biggest thing, because I know we only got a couple minutes here. First and foremost, we're definitely going to start looking into some Saratoga horses up in New York, Karen.
Yes.
All right. So,
we are going to the sales next, well, it's like 2 weeks from now, and we are looking for New York bred, so that is the plan, yeah.
Oh, man, that's gonna be great. That's going to be great. Second thing, all right.
That's my goal.
We got the Derby coming up. Give us some gold, Keri. What do you think? As Joey's looking at me salivating right now.
Yeah, who's your wild card?
I mean, look, unfortunately, I think my actual pick is going to be the favorite, Journalism. I just don't see him getting beat. He's my pick. He's been my pick all along. I just think he's a superior horse. But a bit of value, I think Publisher could jump up and run well.
Journalism and Publisher.
Yeah.
He's actually, me being
he's actually still a maiden, but he's run well in some big races. And
maiden in the Derby.
Yeah,
that's pretty cool.
I think he could. But
definitely value on that one.
I'm definitely Team Journalism.
Don't mush it, Joey. Don't mush it. Keri, give it. We got less than a minute left. Plug away. Go ahead. Give out your. I know it's KB Racing LLC. You want to give out your website?
Yeah. KB Racing LLC, Twitter, Keri145, KB Racing Stable at gmail.com.
Great. Thank you so much, Keri.
Thanks,
for joining us. See you guys next week. Bye-bye.
All right. Bye.
This is WGBB AM 12.
Noah, I have a job for you.
Jeez, it's not another ARC, is it?
No, not again. This time I need a full-scale home renovation.
Noah Construction and Builders is your design and build partner. We do it all, from additions and dormers to full-scale renovations. Schedule your no-cost design consultation today. Visit us online at noahconstruction-builders.com.
Noah Construction and Builders, through dreams we design, with vision we build.